Thanks for joining us here on sfntoday.com and the Southern Farm Network. I'm Mike Davis. I'm joined today by George Barkin. He's a grain merchandiser with Murphy Brown and their MB Grain Division. George, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Grain sorghum has been taking off in the Carolinas. We've really started to see this pick up as an alternative crop in the last couple of years. What's driving that?
Well, we're a grain deficit state in North Carolina. We have a lot of usage, a lot of end users here, and a lot of animals to feed. And so we have to source the grain. Historically, we do that from the Midwest. We want to buy as local as we can. We want to support the local farming communities. And so in the past couple of years, we've just been looking for something to fill that void, add calories to the land.
Yeah. What are some of the advantages as you're talking with farmers and producers? What are some of the advantages that you tell them about to consider grain sorghum?
Okay. Well, besides just the fundamental agronomic issues, we're trying to push a crop where we've really backed this market. We've really reintroduced it back into North Carolina. It's an old crop. People have done it for 30 years ago, farming grain sorghum. So for us, it's just letting them know that we're going to be here year in, year out, buying the grain sorghum and give them an alternative rotational crop.
Yeah. Now I can hear some of the farmers right now. They're thinking of the practical side of it. They want to know who buys it, where do I take it, contracts, that sort of thing. Can you give us some information about that? How does it work on that side?
Yeah, well, we're, like I said, we're in the market for it. We can set up a variety of different kinds of contracts, or like I said, for folks who haven't done it in a long time and they're not comfortable booking a bushel amount, because we can book bushel amounts, but a big thing we want to take home is that you can just give me a call or not give me a call. Some of our vendors who have delivered to us in the past, who are comfortable with just coming to the feed mill. We want to make them feel as comfortable with just growing the crop, and if you don't want to lock in a specific amount, you can just sell as a spot load. That would be the cash price for the day. So that the real advantage there is you don't want to expose yourself to not making a crop.
Sure. We
don't want you to book anything that you're not comfortable booking. I'm not putting any pressure on anybody to do anything like that.
Absolutely.
And so the benefit of working with us with this new grain sorghum push is that you can take a year and grow your crop and deliver it to us, and what you make, we'll pay you a fair price for that. We'll pay you the cash price based on what the market's doing in Chicago and what our local market's doing here.
Let's say somebody, a farmer does say, okay, you know what, I'm ready to take the plunge. Let's talk about the contracts. How
Absolutely.
Does that work?
Okay, well, we have a variety of contracting options, and these aren't new necessarily to this market, but it's new to us, and in the past couple of years we've definitely added new faces. I started with the company in 2012, and my goal is one part to work within the local farming community and expose people to contracts that maybe they're not as familiar with. Another part is, besides just the education, is getting out and really making the best use of our land out here. And so when I talk to folks that ask me about contracts, I let them know that we can forward contract, and that's probably the most basic type of contract. You would call me up and say, George, I'd like to book 5,000 bushels of this grain. And I say, well, the market right now is $5. We've got a 50-cent basis, so we'll call it $5.50. And so this is maybe for 6 months out. You want to lock in this price. And so in 6 months, when you deliver that grain, you know what your price is. You know what your inputs are, and you know what your profit is. So you can lock in a margin 6 months beforehand. And that's a really good benefit to avoiding these really volatile markets that we've seen in the past couple of years.
And what's the price based on?
The price is based for sorghum is we're feeding the hogs here. That's what we're here to do.
Sure.
And so we hedge our risk against the corn market. Historically, we feed the majority of what we feed is corn. That's the base of our diet. So we want to lock in crops, and why sorghum was such a good fit is because the nutritional value we feel is relatively close to corn. So we are paying 95% of the flat price of corn for grain sorghum. And so how we arrive at that is we take the price of corn and we just multiply it by 95, and then I can quote you the sorghum price. And so that would be an example of the forward contract. Another contract that's really popular, especially for folks who know what they're going to make and know when they want to deliver, is a basis-only contract. And that's a contract where you lock in our local market bid of maybe a basis of 50, 60, 70 cents, whatever it is in your region. And you know you want to have that, but you would also like to, you're not comfortable with the price currently on the market maybe. So you want to hold off, you're not trying to lock in the price. Well, you have the flexibility of locking in your local bid at the highest point in the year, early on, and then as time progresses and you see the market price that best suits your business, you can lock that in anytime. It's your option to price, and you can go ahead and deliver and have your grain out of the field, out of hurricane season,
Sure.
and have your at least your basis portion locked in.
Gives the producer some peace of mind.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And now, where are the mills located? You've got a number of them, right?
Mm-hmm. We've got 5 company feed mills in North Carolina and Virginia. So what I call the southern region, the southern position is Bladenboro and Laurinburg, North Carolina. Those are 2 feed mills on either side of I-95. That's a good way to think
Sure,
about it,
right.
close to South Carolina. The other 2 feed mills in North Carolina are in Rose Hill, North Carolina, and Warsaw. Now there's also a feed mill in Waverly, Virginia. It's on about 50 miles, I'd say, past the Virginia line going up. As far as the feed mills that really push for grain sorghum, we've seen the southern region do really well this past couple of years. And I think a big part of that is we've not only pushed it a lot down there on the lighter sandy soils, but we've also installed dryers at the feed mills.
Oh, yeah.
And so we can handle this grain sorghum like we haven't been able to in the past.
And how does that work?
So for the grain sorghum, historically, we look at the economics behind it, and we're farmers. Murphy Brown has a fairly large farming division that does a lot of research on in-company agronomist Josh Gaddy and his team do test plots along with North Carolina State and Clemson University. And what we found is that really when you're talking about harvesting grain sorghum, if you harvest at a percentage of moisture, it's 15, 16, and this is ballparking,
Sure.
at 15, 16%, and you dry it down, bring it to us and let us dry it down, you likely to see an increase in yield, field loss is not as bad, the risk of getting knocked down by such things as hurricanes.
Right.
So there's some economics behind letting us handle the sorghum at a little bit higher moisture, letting us dry it down, and for us, it increases our worth in the community, puts a little goodwill towards the community, and I think the payback for us is that we have the grain on hand. We're seeing increased yields. In a grain deficit state, we want every piece of grain we can touch. You know, we have a lot of hogs to feed, and we're looking to source as much as we can locally.
Absolutely. Grain sorghum, picking up steam in the last couple of years. George, if people want more information about this, how can they get in touch with you?
You can call my cell phone, which is my primary work phone. I like to be out in the community and visiting with farmers, but that's a line you can hit me day and night. It's 919-601-9478. Also, we have a corporate line which goes to our Rose Hill office, and that's the best way to get in touch with whoever you think you need to talk to.
Yeah.
And that's a 910-289-2111. And those are two numbers where you should be able to get a hold of somebody at any day or night, anytime.
George Barkin, grain merchandiser with Murphy Brown. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.